What would happen if you took Puerto Rico, Cosmic Encounter, War of Whispers, the Iron Man card game, and Seven Wonders, along with Blood Rage, and you mashed them all together? You'd end up with the Last Kingdom board game. But the real question is, do all of these mechanics work well together? And is this game worthy of the time that it'll take you to learn it? Let's take a look here on Legendary Tactics. Destiny is all. I'll break this review into 10 concise points, 7 positive and 3 critical. I bought this game on Kickstarter and our channel never accepts payment for board game reviews. This is just my honest opinion. One caveat that I should confess to you is that this game is based on my favorite book series by Bernard Cornwell, so my standards and expectations are quite high for this. And if it doesn't do the series justice, by the end of this video, I'll let you know. Let's start number 10 with the comparisons. Well, before this game starts, players have to choose a leader. And just like in Cosmic Encounter, each leader has asymmetrical player powers. Also like Cosmic Encounter, the game is somewhat of a co-opetition with players, sometimes working together to achieve common goals, and other times working against each other. The game then begins with a card drafting and passing phase, and this is taken directly from Seven Wonders. Blood Rage also uses this mechanic to try to flesh out your hand. So the game moves then into the conflict phase, and like War of Whispers, it's a game about influencing the outcome of each conflict zone. You don't play as a set of units on the board, but rather you can shift alliances depending on how the battles are going. So it's fairly unique in that sense. Now during the conflicts, one of your options is to draft actions from a market of increasingly costly options. When an action is taken, then it becomes the most expensive, and the rest of the market becomes cheaper. This has a passing resemblance to Puerto Rico, with the notable exception being that you are the only one to benefit from each action in the Last Kingdom, whereas in Puerto Rico, everybody benefits from it. Finally, I mentioned the Iron Man card game, and they're similar in the sense that you have a pool of cards to use at whatever rate you want, but you need to cut your losses and move on without expending too many resources. Restraint is perhaps the hardest strategic challenge of this game. I do actually want to make one more comparison, and that's with Blood Rage. Both games use a small amount of miniatures as your representative on the board. And I think there are enough comparisons with the map too that we can make that comparison fairly. Let's move on to the rules. So it's important to look at the difficulty of the game to see if it's the right game for you. Mechanically, there's a lot going on with this game. I played it with a wide range of board gamers, including a 10-year-old, 11-year-old, a middle-aged woman, a 20-year-old man, and our first game was a complete gong show. We were having fun, but nobody really knew what they were doing or why they were doing it, and we all made a raft of ridiculous blunders, but nonetheless, we had a great time, and after we realized all the misplays we made, we all wanted to redo the next day. So out of 10, with 10 being the most absurd and confusing game of all time, and 1 being tic-tac-toe, the gamers I played with would give this a rank of about 5 to 6. If you know other games like this, then it's not too challenging. But if you're new to gaming, you've never experienced these, then it'll be a much higher score. So comparatively, I would say it's more difficult than all of the other games here on this table. But for players to really enjoy this experience, you need a rules guru to teach you the game, someone who really knows it well. Let's move to game length. One criticism I have of the game is how long it takes to play. It's rated at 30 minutes per player. Given that we were all new to the game, we were a little longer, 45 to 60 minutes per player, and it felt as if the second round didn't come quickly enough to replenish our cards. While it didn't feel draggy, I'd like to see this game wrap up much more quickly. When we were half done, I felt like the game should have been done. And if you played with an experienced group, it would move at a reasonable pace, but for the most part, players will be wanting to squeeze out every last option of their turns, and if one player doesn't pass, players can feel a little disengaged when it's not their turn. If you enjoy how I'm structuring this review and this is useful to you, then please consider giving the video a like and giving our channel a subscription. That would be great. And if you let the video run to the end, even if you get bored by number 5, well then YouTube likes us as well. On to number 7. So the aesthetic. Well, inside the box, for me, I want a game with a nice aesthetic that isn't too overwhelming. So, how does the game look? Well, you can decide for yourself. If you're waiting for me to tell you, well, I feel like the board is appropriately Spartan, and I really love how the market action cards fit together and slide along the market track. That's up at the top there. It's a really elegant way of tracking something that's often done very manually by placing tokens on cards that aren't used. The card art is just photographs taken directly out of the Netflix series, which I don't mind because I think the characters were very well cast in the show. I prefer when a game has the rights to the IP, so there's continuity within that experience and across different mediums for me. Also, we should speak about the components. So, as ever, I'm immediately drawn to the miniatures. Yeah, I know I'm a sucker for a game with minis, but these look really good. There's lots of detail on them, and it can be a little tricky to decipher which characters are based on, each character is based on their appearance alone, but it makes a really impressive set of people if you want to paint these, and it'll have nice shallow areas, depth areas, and these will really pop. I'll likely do that video at a later time. It took me a few plays to realize that the conflict token is actually just the pommel, a hilt, and the crossguard of a sword, as if the blade has been driven down into the territory. And you have to just love this succession token. It looks really cool. It's like a city under siege, which shows the next city that's about to be attacked. And when I first saw this, I thought, this is Bebenberg, if you know the series. And finally, the last component that I was really happy with was the army units. I'll show you a quick shot of those, but they didn't default to using little wooden cubes. That always leaves me feeling a little less than impressed. Another critique that I absolutely need to make is that there's no way I can fit all of this back inside the game. So you might be able to stuff it all into a big sack of tokens, but that sort of defeats the purpose. So I had to organize everything into this tray and aftermarket organizer, and as you can see, there's a lot here and it just doesn't fit in an organized way. So that's a mild complaint. In terms of the gameplay, how does it play? Well, essentially you're given a boatload of options. Levers, buttons, switches, and your goal as a player is to align with the winning faction, then make sure that your side wins. So there will be negotiations between players as they figure out how they can meet their objectives together, or how they can thwart the carefully laid plans of their opponents. Each player has different abilities, which add flavor and variety to the game. So there are some politics in addition to essentially the board movement in the game and the negotiation. If you'd like to support our channel, the best way to do that is by becoming a member. That'll give you access to our members-only content. Now, for my final 3 thoughts. The narrative. An element that's important to me, but not necessarily to everyone, is how strong the narrative or the theme is for the game. Since it's my favorite book series, this really matters to me. I feel like the game designer John D. Clare knew and understood the series well, and that the theme wasn't simply pasted on. The narrative presented itself subtly through the leader's asymmetrical powers and through their leader cards. These powers actually changed and guided how each player approached the game. King Alfred, for instance, wouldn't allow other leaders to shift to the Danish allegiance if he was around. He was simply too charismatic. Ellsworth ensures that only West Saxon armies score. Ethelwald was a super shady character, and his character felt that way too. Breda was strongest when she was outnumbered. And Uhtred, he felt a little underpowered, but he was really mobile, and his strength does improve from round 1 to round 2. And so this is where the game's replayability really comes in, and I would give this game an 8 out of 10 for its use of narrative. It's quite fun. I love it. One last critique for the game is that it can't be played as a solo experience. Most modern games have found a way to program an AI deck of cards to run a dummy opponent, and that is certainly possible here. The game would lose some of its charm if it weren't for the other players to work with or against, so perhaps this is a minor criticism again. Number 1. The most important consideration is whether this game is fun. Everyone I played with thoroughly enjoyed this game. There was plenty of game, plenty of surprises, lots of allegiances, lots of betrayals. So overall, I really love the game. I love how it brought a wide variety of mechanics together in a seamless way, and it will certainly be one that stays in my permanent collection. Let me know your thoughts on this game, what you love and what you don't. Now get out there, get gaming, and be legendary.